Well, I got to start with I don't know, a move that you made, whether intentionally or unintentionally, savage, man. But listen, it seemed like you were in relatively good spirits considering how much of a surprise this was. So when did you discover that you took Rizzo's torch, and was there a hidden agenda to it, Juwan?
Oh my gosh. I wish there was some sort of master genius, like game changers plan of like grabbing his torch. But you saw, I was so I blacked out. I didn't know what I said. I'm surprised I hugged people. That's cool. But I didn't realize I got his torch snuffed until I watched it on TV. I was like, oh, but that's such a Jawan moment, you know? And I think that was a beautiful way to like end my story, fitting from, day one where I'm grabbing Savannah's bag and the water bottle stuff.
Well, it's understandable that, your head was all over the place considering how all over the place this tribal council was. So like give me a bit of your headspace. I guess, when the votes are in, you see Rizzo get up to play this fake idol, see Christina get up to play this real idol. What was sort of going through your head at that moment? Did you get a sense that things were not going to be going the way that you anticipated?
No, ideally, in my head, everything was going to plan. Like Sage came up with this beautiful, in my head, like really strategic double, like, two birds, one stone move. I was like, okay, Christina stands up. We know she's gonna play for Steven. And I'm gonna nudge Rizzo to play his idol. So when I saw the fake idol, I was like, oh no, oh no. Okay. And then I'm like, and when he gives it for Savannah, at that point, I'm like, all right, we're kind of cooked, but I want him to at least burn the real thing, you know? If it's going to be on one of us, I really didn't think it would be your boy. I thought it would be maybe Christina or Sage. I thought that they wouldn't worry about little old Jawan.
Well, let's talk about Sage because this culminated, one of the most important relationships you had in the game, if not the most
Mhm.
important. A bit of a surprise to us, considering that we hear in this episode like Sage say, "Hey, Jawan's been with me from the beginning." So talk to me a
Yeah.
bit about that relationship and how did it grow to becoming as tight as it did through the merge?
Yeah, so early days, me and Sage, we were just solid friends. I had a moment, with the fire,
Yeah.
and I asked everybody for a minute to be by myself. Sage was on a walk for that moment, but when she came back, I was like, hey, and she just really was there for me. She was like, hey, I'm glad that you needed space by yourself. And honestly, we weren't really strategically aligned at that point. I think she was more aware that than me that I was on the bottom, but it wasn't until the Shannon, boot that tribe swap where I kind of got granted a gift. I think I kind of like I want an advantage. I got like a phone call from home. She was like, "Hey, you're in danger. Like they don't like you." Like I was like, "Oh," so I think from that moment on, it made me really look at her as family. I feel like Sage is the type of person you meet in high school and you forget how you became friends. Like you just always have felt like you've been friends. And I think she's someone that like she really I can be fully Jawan with. Goofy, sad, mad, wacky. Like I'm grateful for that relationship.
Now let's go to the opposite end of the Uli spectrum here because you make this alliance with Savannah in the first couple of days, and you mentioned that sort of
Yeah.
emotional moment you have seemingly already has her off of the Jawan train, something that she
Yeah.
will talk about to us multiple times at least. But I want to hear your perspective on it. What was your sense of the relationship that you had, and what has been your response to watching back some of the stuff that she has said in confessional?
Yeah, Savannah, first off, is a fierce game player. And I think one of her strengths were even if she was anti-Jawan, she never gave me an inkling that she was anti-Jawan.
Hmm.
And I think that shows her self-control. And I just never knew that the water bottle thing bugged her that much. So watching it back on TV, it was, if I'm being real, it did kind of like stink a little bit because I was like, oh, as someone that like wants to always be a part of the group and I've struggled with not being the cool kid growing up, Mike. So I think for that, it kind of opened up a wound for me.
Hmm.
But all in all, I think as a video editor, I'm trying to remember this is a story. This is a reality show. So me and her have had talks outside of the game. So we good. We good.
Well, I want to hear some of your side of the story when it comes to these votes, because up until this point, and one of the reasons why you get taken out is because you and Sage sit in the middle. Obviously, you are the big sort of like defectors in the merge vote. But we've gone these past couple of votes. I think some questions raised,
Mm.
certainly from an audience perspective that I'm excited for you to answer. Let's start with the MC vote,
Yeah,
especially because what MC has told us is the fact that she had approached you once Sophie throws out this plan of like, oh, I'm throwing a vote onto Jawan just in case any idols come out, and saying like, I want to make sure that we are not putting two black people on the jury
yeah,
immediately. So
yeah.
give me your reaction to that, and then how does that all eventually lead to getting rid of MC specifically over Sophie?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that question. I'm so happy to kind of like address the elephant in the room in terms of like our whole boot order. And first off, I just want to say I want to like hold space for MC's hurt feelings with that, and also anyone that's maybe uncomfortable watching our boot order. I just want to give my perspective, and my perspective in every decision I made out there was about winning money for my family. So I just kept putting things on that scale. And Mike Bloom, I'm broke, man. I really want to wanted to go out there and provide a safety net for my family. And I think um, more specifically with MC, when she came to me about um, just kind of the optics of everything, and we talked about season 42, season 43. I really wanted to, honestly, my hopes was to take that information and really just make sure Sophie goes home. And I struggled to do that once the boat came up with Savannah. It just was so much unknown that happened there. So yeah, I want to continue to hold space for her hurt feelings, but I know for me, that vote was the most complicated vote for me. Like I really wanted Rizzo out, plan A. Plan B was Sophie S. But I think when that boat came over, I really had to do um, what I thought was best for me to get out alive, to get money for my family.
So then, how does that lead into the Alex vote as well? Because I think,
Yeah,
it makes sense maybe given the circumstances, you're like, okay, let's remain Uli strong just for this. And
yeah.
you continue to remain seemingly Uli strong for that
Mhm.
vote. Tell me why.
Yeah, so what they don't show is like when I get back, I have a conversation with uh Christina, trying to do some damage control. I'm like, hey, you know, it was going to be Rizzo, and honestly, keep this between me and you, Christina. I don't want this getting back to him, but I want it to be like it was going to be Rizzo until the boat came and things just got messy. So when I wake up in the morning, I get pulled aside and we kind of see it by Rizzo. Rizzo's like, hey, so were you coming after me on the on last week's or the at the last tribal council? I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, who told you that? And he said Alex did. So I then double back with Alex, and they don't show this conversation. I double back with him at the well. I was like, hey, bro, did you tell Rizzo that we were going to get him on that last vote? He was like, what? No, I didn't do that. But one of the things he said that made me nervous about Alex was he was like, everyone's saying your name, Jawan. And I wish I could go back in time and be like, Alex, because I asked him, like, who's saying my name? He was like, everyone, I'm sorry, can't tell you. So I wish I would have doubled down in that moment and been like, Alex, if you don't tell me a name, I'm going to think it's you.
Hmm.
So I went and talked to Sage, and me and Sage at that time, like I felt like things kept getting back to Rizzo, whether it was like his lies and he was playing it off or what. We just felt like there was a lot of information going back and forth. Ultimately, I did want Rizzo at that vote, but we thought, it's the final nine. We have a six-person majority, a three-person minority. Maybe we can cut someone that's going back and forth. We didn't realize how loaded the three at the bottom are, like a freaking knowledge is power, extra vote. I think if we have that information, it goes way different.
At that point where you had been voted off, if you had continued in the game, was the plan for you to just keep flipping back and forth? Did you have sort of a final three in mind? The bottoms up of it all was a thing once upon a time. Would you still acknowledge that towards the end?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Mike. I think the start of my blind side, I remember talking to Sage, and me and her actually were disagreeing a lot. And I'm surprised they didn't show it. She really wanted to be with the Hina yellow side, so yellow Sophie, Steven, and Christina. And I felt like, I still had my hooks in maybe with the Rizzo, the Savannah and Blue Soph. I just thought that they were more solid. I felt like everyone on the yellow side, like Sophie throwed out my name one time. I found out Steven didn't tell me about the idol, and me and Christina had an argument the night before. So I was like, yo, this is so shaky to do this side. But ultimately, I think that is the right decision because, I think that if we got as a five, there would have been more room for us to maneuver from that point on. So I think my ideal, three was maybe bottoms up, but I was starting to get wary of Steven too. And I want to give Steven his flowers too. Such a, great dude, triple threat. And I just love that guy a lot.
You spoke both on the episodes as well as in our interview about being a people pleaser and how much generosity you just naturally live by, given, your childhood, your background to who you are as a person. How much did you have to contest with those instincts, considering how cutthroat the game is? We obviously see you be a provider, but then we also see your response to just the idea of Christina switching that reward with you. It's not something that really exists in your DNA.
Yeah, man, I'm such a flawed player, man. I'm so imperfect. And I thought by watching all of these like exit interviews and podcasts, I would go out there and kill it. But I do think I do struggle with receiving stuff. But also, like, I think early days, like taking out Matt was hard. I liked Matt. Me and him fished for hours, and I got a lot of practice with him. And I loved Jason too. Jason was my boy, my Pokemon nerd brother. Like, so I think that part of the game was hard for me. But all in all, I'm just really grateful for this experience. And yeah, I'm talking to Mike Bloom. Like, this is crazy.
Well,
Ah!
the last thing I have to ask is that I don't know if you know this, but you and Nate were one right after the other in my interview. And the more I heard about you guys, I was like,
Yeah,
these guys are gonna link up immediately,
yeah,
especially when you gave me a freaking list of Marvel comparisons to the competition. Of course, Nate
yeah.
doesn't reveal to you in the game that his background, but when did it happen? How did it happen? And what was your reaction?
Yeah, man. I think he told me and a group of us like like one of the last days in the game or last days out of the game. And I think I was just so tired, but also I was like, what? That's wild. And this is awkward because me and Rizzo spent a couple nights kind of roasting some new Marvel movies right next to him. So I was like, ugh, I'm sorry. But it was cool. It was cool to hear that. And I wish he would have told me on the island. I will say, I think that changes a lot. But
Really?
yeah, well, I just felt like at least with me and Nate, maybe there was just some sort of disconnect there. I kind of felt like maybe he was holding back something. I could have never guessed it was a Marvel thing, but yeah, who knows what would happen if you told me that. A
Well,
lot more
look,
things to talk about.
Well, listen, your game was in a word, cinema, from that perspective. So I know that obviously not the most ideal outcome, but I do think that you are someone who, from the very beginning, wore their heart on their sleeve. And I think that bore through, to the very end. And I just want to, laud a lot of praise for you because that's not an incredibly easy thing to do, especially as you mentioned, you're fighting these urges to have you naturally invest in these people only to divest your interests when they vote them out. So you were such an enjoyable presence on this season and getting to watch you do things you felt you probably couldn't do, but I'm sure you had in the back of your head knowing that you could. It was a big fiery way to go out, but you would have wanted nothing less, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Mike, just to give you some more flowers, when I was out there and we talked, it's just like you really helped calm me down too before I started the game. So I appreciate you. You're doing so much for the community. I'm such a big fan, and I'm glad I got a Mike Bloom outro. Those are fire.
Oh
So
my
thank you.
God. No, I'm a J fan. I'm such a
Oh
big fan of
man,
yours as well and everything you brought to this season. So I
yeah,
will let you go. I'm sure this is not the last time we'll be speaking, my friend, but all the best to you and
yes.
yours. And again, thanks so much again, man. This was a pleasure.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right,
See you
have a
soon.
good one. Bye.